Hello everyone, Professor Philip Travis here, and this week, in a history of modern Germany, we're going to look at Germany in the decade following the First World War. Of course, Germany was defeated in the First World War, and as a result of the Treaty of Versailles, as well as for its ally, Austria-Hungary, the Treaty of Trianon, both Germany, Austria, and Hungary had significant limitations placed upon them. Of course, Germany lost a significant amount of territory. It lost its overseas colonies. It was forced, among other things, to pay very, very large reparation payments to the victorious Allied powers for its responsibility for the First World War. Austria-Hungary was broken up, and a new collection of independent states were created in the territories that had been controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and that was as a result of the Treaty of Trianon. After Kaiser Wilhelm had fled the country, the government that signed the Treaty of Versailles, the German government that signed the Treaty of Versailles, was known as the Weimar Republic. And the reason for this was that government formed in the city of Weimar, Germany. And the reason for that was largely because all of the other sort of major cities, Munich, Berlin, and so forth, had a great deal of revolutionary uprisings. There were communist uprisings and revolutionary activity in places like Berlin. And as a result of this, Weimar was one of the few major places in Germany to found the government. During the 1920s, of course, the Weimar Germany was a republic. It was a representative republic. It championed many of the sort of values in terms of liberal democratic values in terms of individual rights, civil liberties, education, and so forth that are championed in Western liberal democracies. But there, of course, was in the background a radical far-right extremist movement, particularly organized by what was, at the end of World War I, in the early period of the Weimar Republic, little more than a small club or like political affiliation. And this, of course, was the NSDAP, which was a very, very minor, this would become to be known as the Nazis, the Nazi Party, a very minor political group. And indeed, a very minor group throughout the 1920s. The Nazi Party really doesn't become a significant political force in Germany until the immediate aftermath of the Great Depression, which caused a great deal of economic difficulty for the world, of course, and obviously for Germany. And it was that economic difficulty that really played into the development of Hitler and the Nazi Party seizing control of Germany, of course, following the appointment of Hitler to the chancellorship, which he began in 1933. Versailles, of course, among other things, was often used by Hitler and the Nazi Party to argue that democracy, that liberal democracy, was effectively weak and undermining Germany, and that somehow Germany was being destroyed by a liberal democratic system of government within Germany and a sort of liberal international order that sought to undermine and weaken Germany from abroad. And it was these factors, corporate internationalist, liberal internationalist states, and liberal democracy, that the Nazis effectively argued were seeking to destroy Germany, and that Germany had to have sort of strong, aggressive leadership to reestablish Germany as a major power, and to do so by racially purifying its population and then expanding Germany, particularly in Eastern Europe, to make it a major sort of European imperial power, a racial imperial power. Our readings for this week, we are reading from Bendersky. We're now going to be looking at the Bendersky book. I want you to read part 1 of the Bendersky book. And this, what I've just kind of summarized for you, is what we'll be looking at this week. In addition to the Bendersky book, we have our midterm exam this week. And because we have our midterm exam this week, there is no discussion forum this week. It's an exam week, a major exam week, so let's not have a discussion forum this week. Let's focus on preparing, doing the reading, and preparing for the exam. There is a study guide for the exam, but the study guide just really provides a topic area for the essay question. The test is made up of multiple choice, true, false. There's also short response type questions, but there's a major essay question. And on the study guide, I provide a topic area for the essay. I don't provide the actual question itself, but it's a topic area. And you'll usually have the option to choose one of two essays potentially. But take a look at the study guide. And make sure you use that as you prepare. And please let me know if you have any questions, by the way, as you do. The other thing we need to do this week is we need to submit a paper topic and a thesis statement and a list of preliminary sources for your paper. What I want to see here, I want to see 5 academic sources. 5 academic sources. Use your library. They have lots of stuff in the online databases. And, of course, there are other options as well to obtain academic sources on the topic area. You may use, if it's relevant, you may use our Bendersky or our kitchen book as one of the sources, but I want to see some outside research. So you can count one of our sources. Now, of course, if you want to use the sources that we've assigned for this book, you may use them. I just want to see, in addition to a source from this book, I want to see at least 4 outside resources to demonstrate that you're doing some research. So come up with a topic, come up with a specific thesis statement. A thesis statement should not be a question. It should not be open-ended. It should not be broad. It should be a focused point that the paper will demonstrate through evidence. Okay, and if you have questions about that, again, send me an email. You can set up a meeting too. We can do a virtual Zoom meeting if you want as well. So just let me know if you have any questions. You want to hear some more feedback from me on that. And then those 5 sources. Make sure your sources are listed in Chicago style bibliographical form. And I'll provide a link for you for Chicago style if anybody needs to look up how to cite, do the basic citation styles in Chicago style. All right. Factoid. The factoid is this is actually very good for us because this is a guaranteed test topic, and it's in your Bendersky reading. And this is related to Nazi ideology. The Nazi Party developed an ideology that was really, by and large, a 3-part ideology, and this ideology was really the core ideas that that you found at work in Hitler and the Nazi Party's seizure of power and expansion of power. It was effectively this ideology that more or less was Nazi Germany's, I guess, blueprint, more or less, for what they would be doing in the future to Europe and to millions of innocent people in Europe. Nazi ideology was not, it should be noted before I mention these, it wasn't original. The Nazis had actually very few original ideas. I'm sure many of you know that many of the ideas associated with eugenics, which was the idea of racial engineering of society through sterilizing people and encouraging certain types of people deemed to be genetically superior to breed and have kids. That idea came largely from the United States. The United States in the early 20th century had an active and robust eugenics program, and actually in the United States during the 20th century there were some roughly 60,000 people sterilized against their will as part of that program. So the Nazis didn't have a lot of original ideas. What the Nazis really did was they took other people's ideas and then they sort of ratcheted them up to their most horrifying extreme. Nazi Germany ideology was, of course, driven largely by racism. And racism, of course, was the driving force, the vehicle behind imperialism. And so Nazi thinkers took ideas from imperialism and applied this to their own racial ideas of a continental European empire. Okay, so I'm getting a little long here, so we'll get right to it. There's the three parts to Nazi ideology were the Volk, Lebensraum, and the Führerprinzip. Now, what do those mean? The Volk, another term borrowed from particularly early 19th century German writers that romanticized the experience of the German sort of farming peasant, if you will, the agrarian German person living in the Holy Roman Empire through and after the Middle-Aged period. The Volk referred to the German people. And of course, the Nazis took the Volk, Volkswagen, right? People's car. The Germans took the idea of the Volk, and they developed this idea as a racial term that referred to a certain group of people that they would sometimes call Nordic races, or of course the Aryan race. Sometimes was the term that was used. The German Volk were referred to as the people of Germany. Again, a racial, ethnic group of people, very specific group of people that the Nazis claimed could be Germans or were Germans. Lebensraum, and this is why I have this map here for you, Lebensraum is a term that means living space. And the Nazi ideology was that Nazi Germany would create an empire that would provide living space for the ethnic German Volk. And that area of living space was particularly envisioned to be in the areas of Eastern Europe, particularly Russia, Ukraine, Poland, in areas of southeastern Europe too, areas that were populated by Russians, Ukrainians, Eastern Jewish people, Slavic people, all of which the Nazis claimed, they called them the Untermensch, which refers to what they would have called subhumans. They believed that the populations of Eastern Europe were inferior populations, and thereby the superior German race, as they alleged, had effectively a responsibility in its own right of survival to conquer them, imperialize them, and then effectively murder them and enslave them. And the last one was the Führerprinzip. And the Führerprinzip is called the leadership principle, and that refers to effectively the fundamentally anti-democratic nature of Nazi Germany. That Nazi Germany, led by Hitler, they loathed democracy. And they were incredibly arrogant and elitist, believing that they were the best and most fit individuals to lead. And as a result of this, the Nazis effectively argued that democracy should be destroyed, and that the Nazi Party should lead Germany, and this would allow Germany to act strongly and vigorously in creating this large Eastern European-focused, racially oriented empire for the ethnic German Volk. So the ideology of Nazi Germany, which is an ideology that really foretold a horrifying genocide in Eastern Europe and a horrifying conflict. The Volk, Lebensraum, and the Führerprinzip. So summarize that in the extra credit discussion area. Get your bonus points. Maybe I'll give you 2 points for this because this is long. Have a great week, and let me know if you have any questions for the test. I look forward to seeing your paper topic submissions. Let me know if you have any questions, everyone.